All right, welcome to today's podcast, Flip the Mind Script. Well, I wanted to talk about money, resources, and the stories that we have around those. We could either talk about
money, resources. What do you mean? Give
me
an example. Let's go.
The fear of success, the fear of failure. Why did we spend so much time not having money? And what stories surrounded that?
There are a few reasons for that.
Right. That's the thing. And not necessarily that we have to talk about our personal lives, but it's more the idea of what the reason you don't have the life that you want, or the reason that you don't have money, or it's not even so much money, it's resources.
Okay.
It's the things that you want.
So basically you're talking about physical, tangible things.
Well, even experiences. Not take away money, but the idea of a family
getting
vacation.
What you want.
Yeah.
Doing and getting what you want. Having the things that you want to have. Why do you not have that?
I think it's interesting. I was listening to a family member, and they were on a vacation, and basically they were having this experience that was kind of not normal to them, meaning they were with somebody who had a lot of money, and they had this amazing experience, and the individual kept saying to their kids, don't get used to this. Don't get used to this. This is never going to happen again. And I think, again, that's...
Are you talking about yourself a few years ago?
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. Yeah. But that's kind of the thing. It's why not get used to it? Why would you not get used to it?
Yeah.
This is our new standard for vacations.
Well, something that they have mentioned to me is going camping. Mm-hmm. And we could just camp in the backyard, and they're happy with that. Not saying we couldn't go. There's some nice camping places that are not far from us, so we could do that. It doesn't even cost any. It's not even about money. That's what you're saying. It's not just about money. We put the money label on things because that's part of our story, and we use that as the excuse of why we can't have something. Well, it costs money. Okay, well, it doesn't cost money. Now what?
Yeah.
Well, there's always something.
Well,
that's what you have to look at.
That's the thing that's interesting. Most people say we don't have the money. They put the emphasis on as if they have to have the money. But how many times, if we look over the past, how many times have things just come to us completely for free, and money was not involved at all?
Yes.
And when that happens, I think that's what you should aim for about getting rid of stories. Okay, you want an experience to have a family vacation? It is possible to get a family vacation completely for free, because we did it. And it was amazing. And it was 100% paid for, and we just showed up. And we were like, this is
Where
amazing.
Was this?
The one in Colorado.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on... It really is... I hate to always just say, oh, it's manifesting, it's a law of attraction. But it is. But you can't... That's just... that's the way things function. Creation comes from the thoughts and desires and beliefs all mixed together. And you're just not really getting what you're wanting if you have these weird beliefs that we're always talking about that are stopping you from having the things you want. You want something, but you're stressing about it. Well, you're not really thinking about and desiring the thing you want. You're more focused on the stress of not being able to have the thing you want. So you're never going to have the thing you want. You have to line that up. It doesn't matter with what it is. We are talking about physical, tangible things or experiences, like having a better life in that aspect, but it does affect all areas of your life. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add one thing. I don't know that it's so much manifesting. I know people put that word on it.
That's why, yeah.
I don't know that it's so much manifesting as I think it's not having this
the restrictions
and restrictions on it.
Yes.
And then also
that's a
adding
good point.
Adding the skill on top of that of the skill of networking and talking to people. Everything you want is typically somehow involving other people. And if you have the skill to like talk to people, and that's where I think the work, when people say it's work, it's a level of like getting rid of the negativity, but also building skills surrounding what it is that you want. Does that make sense?
Yes. And something that you mentioned that I want to clarify, that I like that the way you were wording it, bringing it up, is what I'm saying with manifest. It's not so much, it is manifesting, but the focus is always on, manifesting like what you want. Yeah, you do need to figure out what you want. It needs to be clear and it needs to be defined for you. Outside of that, there's nothing you really have to do to get it. You just need to know what you want. And it's like gravity. It just happens. There's nothing you have to do to try to obtain it. Just it's part of creation and attracting things to you. The problem is all the weird restrictions, beliefs, all the things that are stopping that process from happening to benefit you. That's the actual issue. Does that, you know what I mean?
Yes, I would like to add one thing, because as I listen to like my mentors or coach, like people groups that I'm in, they talk about like it takes hard work. That's what they talk about. It takes hard work. To build something, it takes hard work. It takes hard work. That's what a lot of people say. But then if you listen to like people on the woo-woo manifesting side, like Abraham Hicks, she very much talks about it should be easy, it should flow, it should not be a hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really been fascinated with this conversation of how much of it is hard, and they're just and even these really successful people, they're just making it hard. But they've been successful in it. And then how much is this Abraham Hicks and people who are way big into manifesting, how much are they correct? And I really, as I'm thinking about this, I think there is the thing that is hard is, it's not so much hard as it can be uncomfortable gaining the skills to be creative. That because creating.
What do you mean by that?
All right. I'm figuring this out as I go. So this could go down a rabbit hole. But how much, if you look at manifesting, that you can have a thought and then you just create it, right? You have a thought and it just manifests. Well, if you look at that in between section of it, just sitting there is kind of, I think, boring. I have this thought and then I'm just going to kind of wait for it to show up.
Okay.
I think there are certain people who like would say, yes, that's possible. I'm going to sit here and it's going to show up. But I also think that's fewer people who are genuinely happy just sitting there waiting for it to show up. I think that's not the norm. I think what's the norm is if you're doing manifestation correctly, you have a thought And in between the thought and it showing up is the creative part. And I would bet that most people are the happiest when they are the ones creating the in between. And to create the in between, you have to gain skills. And the skills to the creating of the thing is what's uncomfortable. And people label that as hard. Or they put like negativity, like a ton of negativity on top of that, and that makes it hard. Who am I? Why do I think I can do this? This is awful. This is killing me. This is the worst. Like that kind of stuff they put on top of the uncomfortable while they're building the skill.
That is exactly it. You don't need to learn to manifest. Manifesting, attracting, it's like breathing. You're not constantly like, hey, breathe in, breathe out. How do I do this? Breathe in. No, you just are breathing. The only problem is like if I'm like, okay, this is you're trying to manifest. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
people are looking.
No, you're stopping yourself from breathing. And you're like, what do you mean? No, this is just how we do things. And then you're like, oh, I can sit here and breathe. But now I want to run. I want to go run places because I enjoy doing that. That sounds fun to me. That's what I want in life. And you start running. I can't breathe. Take the hand off your mouth. Right? That's basically what's happening, you know?
Yeah.
We just call it lots of different things. Well, no, you don't understand. This belief is real. See, let me prove it to you. Let me prove how this comes up again. And see, it just happened again. Of course it does. That's what you're creating. You're putting that hand over your mouth because that's what you're focused on.
And when you are learning something new, it is uncomfortable. It is because it's not normal to you. It's not every day to you. It's like brushing your teeth with a different hand that you normally, if you're right-handed, you've always brushed your teeth with your right hand. Try brushing your teeth with your left hand. You're going to look like a 2-year-old that's learning to brush their teeth for the first time. You're going to look ridiculous.
Okay, that's the assignment for today. Next time you brush your teeth, brush it with your opposite hand and remember these words. Remember this.
And so when you go
and think this is you, this is how it feels, and it's okay. And just keep doing it and it'll start to become natural.
Yeah. And it's not that it's not attainable. It's not that the thing that you're looking for is
You're just
hard.
not used to it.
You're just not used to doing it's uncomfortable. And so you have this idea.
You don't want to look dumb. You have maybe you have a fixed mindset where, well, everybody tells me I'm so smart and I do everything so well. So I'm too afraid to do something that I don't absolutely know I can do with precision and look good doing it and get the praise that everybody keeps giving me. So I'm going to avoid doing that.
Yeah.
You're just stopping your own progress. Who cares what people say?
Yeah.
I know, that it's out there, but it affects people to a point, but affects some more than others. But it's your life. Do what you want. It's your life. Go live it.
If you really think about it,
don't live a fixed mindset.
Well, yeah, like, okay, you're worried about people who are not, number one, they're not even thinking about you the majority of the time. And even if, let's say they full on come up to you and they're like, that's stupid. Okay, they don't want the thing that you're going after. That's okay. That's fine. They don't want that. They're not interested. Either one, they don't want it, or two, they really do want it and they're mad that you're going after it because that now tells them that they need to go after it.
It brings up the things that they're restricting themselves from doing.
Yeah. And so they're either, and I hate to say they're jealous of you, but but they could be irritated that you're going after something that proves that they just quit.
Yes. And that kind of goes back to, you need to change what you're doing in order to make other people feel better. Like that's one of the things that people have an issue with, when you start to become successful and people start to rip on you and start to tell you, oh, don't do that. You don't want to do that, because it's bringing stuff up in them. There are some people that are very supportive, and that's awesome. But sometimes people aren't so supportive, and you're excited about something and you go out and you start telling everybody, and they just start telling you things. Oh, why are you wasting your time with that? Just anything negative.
Well, I've talked to people who, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but like talking to people and they'll say something like, oh, you can't get rid of this. I'm like, well, I did. And they're like, you must have been misdiagnosed.
They're very confident.
They're very confident because, and my thought is, I was misdiagnosed for 20 years. for 20 years. Like, those are some horrible doctors. They do not know what they're doing if that's the case. And so I tell them that, and they're like, oh, well, and they just like change the subject, because it's not about me. And this is the thing. People who are freaking out about what you're doing, it's not about you. They're uncomfortable with what you're doing because it brings something up in them. It has nothing to do with you. I was giving this lesson. It was in our church, and I was giving this lesson, and I just made a comment about how I made a comment, and I even disclaimed this comment with like, this is the way I view it. Like, I get that it's not really a popular opinion, but like, this is the way that I view it. And it really triggered specifically one person. It really triggered them. And they kind of, not in well, they were slightly aggressive, but they weren't attacking, because it was still kind of in a friendly way, but they were like, I don't think that's right at all. I just sat there, and here I was standing in front of a room full of like 30 women while this woman was telling me how I was wrong. And when you can get to a point, which is what I did, I got to a point where I thought, she's triggered. She's just triggered. Like, this is what's something I said made her feel very uncomfortable, and she needs to let me know to make herself feel better.
To justify
it. And the reality is, I thought, I've got a couple of options. One, I could argue with her. But why? She's triggered. She's having kind of a slight 3-year-old little temper tantrum, and not in a horrible way, but she clearly needed to be heard. And so I thought, you know what? I can give that to her. I didn't agree with her.
Just let her talk.
But I just let her talk, and I said, all right, any other comments? Because that's what I thought in my head. I was getting really stressed because I was like, oh my gosh, she's like really coming at me. But then it was like, no, I'm not wrong. Maybe in her opinion, she's not wrong. And that's really what she believes. But I'm not, just because she's not wrong, or just because she has this opinion and she's uncomfortable with it, doesn't mean I'm wrong. It just means she's triggered. And she really needs to tell me that I'm wrong. I don't have to agree with you, but I don't have to argue with you either.
Correct.
Kind of went down a rabbit hole on that one, but that's okay.
That's okay. So let's go back to, you want something. The first thing you need to do is decide what you want. Sounds simple, but you really do. You need to sit down and clearly define it. It helps to write it down. I would suggest writing it down, but it's not necessary, but it needs to be very clear in your mind. Looking back on when things have worked and when things have not worked for us. I'd say just talking about like the law of attraction, manifesting, bringing things to you. It's so simple and easy. Like I stumbled upon this years ago when I was in the Navy, and there was this book I wanted that I had read years ago. I was trying to remember what it was, and for the life of me, couldn't remember the author, couldn't remember the title. I vaguely remembered what the story was about. And for some reason, I just wanted to find that book again and read it. And I had no clue, well, what this book was. And I tried searching some stuff on the internet and couldn't find it. Internet wasn't as good as it is today back then. Um, but it was really strong in my mind of what I wanted. And it matched up with my energy type and personality as well. I was just very determined, but I wasn't angry. I didn't have any weird restrictions keeping me from it. I just wanted it, and I was determined to go after it. And it was at the forefront of my mind. And so I went, it was in the same day. And then I looked on the internet, couldn't find it. And I was like, okay, well, I was still determined in my mind. I pictured having that book, and I wanted to read it. I was just excited about it. And I went and sat down and ate lunch with someone on the ship. Never eat lunch with this guy. And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden in my head, I'm thinking, ask this guy about it. I'm like, what? That sounds weird. And I ask him, and I'm like, hey, this is a random question, but I was thinking, I was trying to remember this book, and it was da 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 da. I just say some weird, and he goes, "Oh, are you talking about da da?" I'm like, "What? Yes, that's it!" And I was so excited. I went and bought it. That's how it should be. That's how going after the things you want should be. It should be exciting. It should be fun. It should feel good. You should feel maybe you're creating something. Just there's that excitement, that good feeling. That is the feeling you're pursuing. The feeling is more important than the action. Don't misunderstand me. So I'm saying, again, I'll repeat, the feeling is more important than the action. I'm not saying don't do action, but the feeling is more important than the action. Because if you're forcing action in order to try to accomplish a goal, it's going to become hard. At the end of the day, you can probably end up getting it, but it's a very painful journey and a stressful journey, and it's going to be hard. And it was rough. And I mean, maybe those are the experiences that you feel you have to keep having in order to get the thing you want. It doesn't have to be hard. You're floating in the river of life, and you could go with the flow and just keep doing the things you want. And maybe you just like to swim and kick a little harder and have some fun doing it. But if you're constantly swimming against the current and you aren't swimming and you're banging against rocks and other people are, going over you and you're knocking things and you find yourself on the shoreline wondering what's happening while everybody goes by, that's not fun.
Yeah. And the thing that I think a lot of people get wrong is the fact that when they think of manifesting, they don't think they have to do anything. But if it's uncomfortable to not do anything, then that's not good either.
Okay, in my book example.
A board, yeah, like you physically have
if I was
do
uncomfortable talking to people, I would never have spoken to this guy and sat down and just randomly had lunch with him.
Yeah.
I would not have done that. And then it would have been, I wouldn't have gotten the book, and maybe I could have gotten it another way, but call it the universe, call it God. I don't care what you call it, but you're always going to be shown the quickest, fastest, easiest, most harmonious way to just go do it or get it or achieve it.
And the hard thing is when something's uncomfortable to you.
On that path. When it says, oh, yeah, just go over here and get it. And you're like, oh, yeah, but I have to hop across that rock and it looks a little slippery. I don't
I might
I'm
be
not,
judged. What are people going to think?
people
Oh,
are
I
watching
can't talk.
me.
I'm an introvert and I don't like talking to people. Like, well, that's a skill.
But even if I do get it, then I don't have money. I don't have money to buy the book.
Yeah, talking
So
to people is a skill. You can learn. It's uncomfortable.
earning money is a skill.
Earning money is a skill. Business is a skill. Networking is a skill. Everything.
Just default to everything is a skill, and you're going to be right way more often than you're wrong.
Everything is a skill. And if you can't do that skill, then you need to fix your mindset. And you need to work on something, some story that is going on in your head. It's that simple.
Yeah, but you don't understand the way I was raised.
Yeah. You don't understand. My mom thinks I'm fat.
But my friends,
but you're
then get
30,
new friends.
Right. You're 30. We don't need to care what parents think anymore. Like, just because there are parents doesn't mean the way they did it is right. I like how there's kind of this, well, in my family we did it this way, or back in my generation we did it. Kind of like, okay, I hear this a lot with like the work ethic, right? People are talking about, oh, Gen Z or Gen Alpha, they don't know how to work anymore, whatever, right? Like the different generation colliding right now of people don't know how to work. Just because you killed yourself at a 40-hour job and you like it was only 40 hours, but you gave like 60, and you just because you did it a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way. Doesn't mean we should keep that way of doing things. Just because
you've been pounding your head against the wall year after year, day after day, that doesn't make it fun.
Doesn't make it a good idea.
Make it a good idea.
We did it. You know.
This is how we've always done things. Okay, well.
I was a latchkey kid. I raised myself. Doesn't mean that was a good idea. I got shot in the leg with a BB gun. Doesn't mean that's a good idea.
I mean, there are things that toughened up our generation.
I'm not saying we shouldn't have our kids tough. I'm just saying we probably shouldn't let them shoot each other with BB guns. That's all I'm saying. We can find other healthy ways. The point is you're trying to get to where you're trying to get, okay, talking about children, we're trying to get them to a full functioning adult. If you were not raised, oh my, there's something happening. If you were not raised with this knowledge or skill sets that you are wanting to acquire, it is going to be uncomfortable. And just because you may have anxiety, or you may have depression, or you may have something that easily I think somebody set their alarm off
on accident.
You know what? It's just a nice little background noise if you can hear it.
I'm just curious. Make sure everything's okay.
I'm sure it's fine.
Maybe that's a weird alarm.
That is a weird alarm.
Here she comes.
Oh, it's a student driver. But just because it was done a certain way, like I challenge you to look at your life and go, just because it was always been done this way doesn't mean it has to continue that way. Doesn't mean it's the best way. Just because our family gets together at a certain time, but it's uncomfortable, everybody's fighting, everybody gets drunk and just fights each other. Just because it's tradition doesn't mean you have to do it. Doesn't mean that's the best way to do it. Doesn't mean that's just because you're physically close as a family doesn't mean you're mentally or emotionally close. So maybe switch it up. And that's the thing. When you start changing little stories in your life, maybe this doesn't seem like it's relevant when we're talking about money, finances, obtaining resources, but all of this stuff are stories you're telling yourself. And if you don't think those stories aren't affecting your money, resources, experiences that you want to have, you are off base. They are so affecting you and you're not even recognizing it.
I'd say the main thing to look for or to identify is, how do you feel? Do you
Yeah.
feel stressed? Do you feel happy pursuing what you're doing? And are you getting the thing that you're pursuing? Like, is that kind of the norm in your life, or is everything a fight? Is everything a struggle? Is everything just out of reach?
Some people, that's their story. They
Uh-huh.
the reason that it's a struggle and it's a fight is because when they then get the thing, they deserve it. They don't deserve it unless it's a struggle. They don't deserve it unless it's a fight, because it has to be hard. It has to be. This is how life is. I definitely was one of those people. And it's possible that it still might be in there a little bit, where I'm
Yeah,
like,
we're not saying that we've got this totally
yeah,
down and we never mess up. No, we're always learning.
yeah,
I will never be to a point of, oh, I'm perfect, I have nothing to learn anymore. No, just when I learn something new, I add that into my skill set and carry on.
Now, I will say, like, once you figure out, excuse me, once you figure out what you want, what's the next step? Okay, so you want, I don't know, start something small. Like, try manifesting a free cup of coffee, or try manifesting like
It doesn't,
somebody mowing your lawn. I don't
yeah,
know.
whatever you think is a big thing or a small thing,
Right.
just think in terms of what's simple for you, what's easy for you, and pay attention to the the things that come up, the stories that come up that are stopping you from doing that or getting that.
Mm-hmm. Because I would say,
Be
even if
aware of
stuff
that.
even if I got stuff free, I felt guilt. I felt shame. I felt like, oh, I don't deserve that. Which is interesting, because that's stopping all the other things of, I would even say, I'd be like, no, 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 let me pay. No, 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 like actively repelling, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it is interesting when you start looking at the stories, because you're like, whoa. There's
To
there's
us,
so
it's
many.
it's when you've lived with something for so long, you're so used to it, you feel like it's normal, you feel like it's truth,
Mm-hmm.
you feel like there's no other way that things can operate and be. But people who are outsiders looking at you can clearly see there's something going on there that's not normal.
Well, people
And
who have achieved stuff, you're that person going, you don't
it's just,
understand.
it's easy to see somebody that has the issue, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can look at somebody and be like, wow, that's not normal. But when coming that person doing it, they feel totally justified, totally normal. They don't think anything's wrong at all. They don't even feel justified. They just, that's life.
That's how it
That's
is.
how it is.
Yeah.
You have to be able to find that within yourself. You have to be that outsider looking in at you and be able to say, whoa, that's weird. That's not normal. That's not healthy. I've got an issue there. Okay, that's new to me.
Yeah. The I would say it's uncomfortable, but it's also really fun when you can step away and you can look at something and go, okay, this is how I've always behaved.
It's
This is,
exciting to
yeah,
change.
it is. It's exciting. It is uncomfortable, because it makes you look at things that can be scary. But once you get past, I would say that's what's first. What's first is you look at stuff and you're like, this is scary. And I just feel like, right. And it usually brings up emotion of like, I wasn't loved, or I wasn't hugged enough. Like, it usually brings up that. But once you kind of learn how to do this,
Mm-hmm.
you could be in a situation and you're acting a certain way, you're behaving a certain way, you're surrounded by people who are behaving a certain way, and you're like, whoa, I'm not enjoying any of this. I don't like any of this. I don't even know if I like these people that I am choosing to be around.
That I've been with for years.
That I've been with for years. I don't even know. Like, you're looking at each individual, and it's not that you're judging them like, oh, Sarah's an idiot. You're looking at and you're going, Sarah has done nothing but complain about me all night. Does Sarah even like me?
But in Sarah's defense, you would be right along with them. You've been doing this for years,
Yeah.
and you would complain right with them. It's not Sarah that's changed. Sarah's just doing what Sarah's always done. You've just changed, and now you're realizing, oh, wait, I don't like talking negatively about people all the time and my coworkers and my situation. And I'm thinking about other things. I want to do other stuff. I want to accomplish things. And you start finding,
Yeah, can we
you
yeah, you sit there and you're like, can we talk about, like, what does everybody want to accomplish? And they're looking at you like you have three heads. But and you've changed, and you genuinely sit there and you look at each individual and you're like, I don't know. And it's not that you're better than them. You're looking at them and you're going, I don't even know if this is what I want anymore. And there's an instant, it's kind of like Saul in the Bible. It was literally in a blink of an eye, he changed from Saul to Paul. And it's that same thing. You're sitting there and you literally, in a blink of an eye, you change who you are. It sounds like that, oh, change is hard. You know, you got to work on yourself. But it really can be in a blink of an eye where you're sitting there and you're going, why am I doing this? Why am I surrounded by these people? And I am choosing to be around these people. I came on my own free will and choice to hang out with these people. I'm spending my own money, my own gas money, my own food money to be around these people. And I don't even know that we like each other.
this isn't fun anymore.
This isn't fun. I'm not even enjoying this. I dread every time I have to. I get anxiety every time I have to come around you people. Why are we doing this?
But that is the good change.
Yes, but that's the good change. All right.
Well,
good talk.
Yeah, one thing I want to just mention before we end real quick is one of the things that I like that I want us to kind of create and do is I want to create a community of where we can support each other in that change. You know, when somebody has a question and they're trying to figure something out, like I want this to be the place where we can support each other and help each other figure it out so that we can keep moving on. This is the place of support in the way of like, no, you can do this. You've got this. Not, oh, you don't want to try that. That's, you're just going to fail and you're going to be miserable. No, you're not going to fail and be miserable. You're just going to keep achieving. You can do this.
You can do it.
Come on.
Yeah. And I would say
just keep moving forward. We'll help you figure it out together. We'll get through this.
Yeah. With healthy, like people who want.
We're going to keep learning and growing. You're going to keep learning and growing.
People, and I would even add like couples, like people who want to have a good marriage. Not, oh, I married an idiot. Look at him. He's like a baby. That's a whole other podcast.
That is another podcast.
Anyways.
All right.
Okay. Cool. Peace out.
Stay strong. Have fun.
Yes. Have fun.